Welcome to the Probate Nation. My name is Richard Ruddy, and I'm the host of the show this evening. People are living longer thanks to good health care and healthier lifestyles. But as we age, not everyone remains as sharp as they were earlier in their life. And frequently a loved one, a son or a daughter, is called upon to help an elderly parent or family member with both ongoing lifestyle and medical decisions. This help can be informal or through the use of a legal document called an advance directive for health care, or formally through a court appointment as the legal guardian of that senior. Our show tonight digs more deeply into the decision-making process on care of the senior, from where they should live, what type of medical needs they have, what type of social life they would want to have, and much more. In the past, often an elderly parent would move in with the child, and much of those questions were addressed by the on-site care of the family. But in recent years, that has changed. And often that care is now managed from across the country, from an adjacent state, or while the parent resides in a local nursing home or assisted living community. As a result, more and more families and court-appointed guardians are now turning to trained, independent professionals called care managers to help them work through all that must be considered, managed, and implemented in the care for their loved one. With us tonight are two care managers who will guide us through the care management process and development of a care management plan for your loved one. This discussion will illustrate for us how a care manager can help your loved one live as fulfilling and rich a life as possible during their senior years. Our first guest is a gerontologist and executive director of Eldertree Care Management Services. She founded her practice 13 years ago and serves the DC metro area. She's a certified care manager and has been recognized as a fellow of the Aging Life Care Association. Eldertree is active in the community through its education programs and support groups, including its annual Celebrate Centenarians Luncheon. Our second guest is president and founder of Geriatric Care Management, Inc., a private care management firm founded in 1995 that provides individualized services to the elderly and disabled. She is a board-certified diplomat in clinical social work and a licensed clinical social worker in Virginia, Maryland, and DC. She holds 3 certifications: Certified Care Manager, Certified Advanced Social Work Case Manager, and a member of the Academy of Certified Social Workers. From 2006 to 2009, she served as president of the Mid-Atlantic chapter of the National Association of Professional Geriatric Care Managers. Please welcome care managers Stephanie Thermopolis and Kate Caldwell. Wow, that is a lot of skill sets floating around here next to me. Goodness gracious. Well, thank you both for coming and joining us today. This is going to be a very interesting program. I know our viewers are going to find a lot of good things from this. Stephanie, let's get right down to it. What is a care manager? I see that name floating around in all different configurations these days.
We are members of the National Association of Professional Geriatric Care Managers, which are now called Aging Life Care Association. The majority of the members are in the fields of social work, gerontology, clinical nursing, or other specialties related to the elderly. And our focus is to act as communicators for people who require special services near the end of life.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know that the care managers are very active these days in helping the elderly. So, Kate, how does a care manager actually become involved in helping someone with their care?
Well, people find out about us in a number of different ways. Some people find out about care managers through their primary care physician, or maybe it's a family friend that's worked with us in the past. It could be an elder law attorney that recommends that they give us a call. Okay. And at that point, the family will give us a call and we'll talk with them about what the problems are and how we can help solve those issues.
So the focus really is to identify the problem, to solve that initial problem.
Absolutely.
So Steph, tell us a little bit about the role of the care manager as we begin to get into those problems.
The role of the care manager is the facilitator of communication. So when we get involved, we talk to all the people that are involved with the care of the individual who is either elderly or an adult child, and we discuss the situation with them to figure out what is the problem. And we come to a very specific goals of what it is to better the situation.
Okay. Now, tell me, Kate, how can we talked about the coordinator, but tell me more, how does a care manager help accomplish all these things?
A care manager can help by navigating through this very complex healthcare system that we have. So many families are trying to care for their elderly loved one and just don't know what the local resources are. They don't know, which resources are good. I mean, when you look at Northern Virginia alone, we have over 250 home health agencies. I mean, how do you know which one to choose for your parent?
Sure.
So we can help walk the family through that. We also work with the family as a mediator. So, a lot of these family situations that we are working in are rather complex.
Sure.
And we are in the middle of that, helping the family to make really important decisions for their loved one.
And doing it in not being emotional about it.
And yeah, we're a third party. So daughters will often say to me, you told mom, she should move or that she needs this service, and she said yes to you. And then I told her, and she's just absolutely ignored me. So just having a third party, someone else come in,
Sure.
calmly help to bring the family together and make these really important decisions that are oftentimes really hard to make.
Sure, and keeping the priority is, of course, is their loved one, their mom or their dad, that we're trying to make sure it gets cared appropriately.
Absolutely,
Sure.
absolutely.
Well, one of the things I know that's very, very important in the taking care of an elderly person is the development frequently of a care management plan. Okay, so Stephanie, what is a plan of care?
A plan of care is the roadmap that the care manager creates. And what it does is it details exactly what the problem areas are. This is done typically during the initial consultation when the care manager meets the family and the client and addresses each of their issues. It can involve physical, mental, social. So we look at the whole picture and we describe exactly what the problem is, what the solution is, and how are we going to do it.
Okay, well that's a big job. Now, do all folks, Kate, really need a full plan of care?
Well, that really depends. Oftentimes we're working in very complex situations where there's a couple and there's a lot of different levels and layers of things that are going on. And of course, absolutely, those families need a care plan to be able to move that loved one in the right direction. But the reality of the situation is, even beyond that, having a care plan in this situation gives you a chance to actually set your sights on the goals. So without a care plan, oftentimes those goals aren't met. With a care plan, the family is able to see what the goals are and actually be a part of the plan and can decide, these are the parts that I want to do, and the care manager will do these parts. But I'm really happy to take mom to the neurologist, or I'm really happy to help organize her home that's cluttered. And so then the family can become more engaged in the process as well with the care plan. The other piece of the care plan that I absolutely think is valuable is putting a timeline on things. So if you have a timeline that by this point, mom is going to have a new primary care physician who really can meet her needs and be engaged and involved in her care by November the 1st, then there's a timeline and things get done.
So it sounds like, really the care plan really is a way to begin to measure whether we've been successful or not, because we have to figure out what we want to accomplish. So how do we actually develop a plan of care, Stephanie?
A plan of care evolves, and it is typically done at the very beginning. And it can change as the client changes. And typically at the very beginning, we will come up with the most acute need, and we triage it. What is the most important thing that we need to accomplish first? And it can mean either moving a person into a community, aging in place at home and putting in the services necessary, crisis resolution to some type of a crisis, whether it be emotional. So it evolves over time.
Well, it sounds like it is one of those things that you start from a point A, and then as things change, you do need to adapt, so it needs to be revisited, much like many of our plans in life. Well, let's take a look at actually the components of a care management plan. So let's start with housing, Kate. How can a care manager help with the housing piece of this particular puzzle?
Absolutely. So housing is another thing here in Northern Virginia. It can be very complicated for families. There are 17 new communities in the last year and a half.
Wow.
That is a lot. Even for us as care managers, that is a lot of new information. So there are so many choices for families out there. When you think about the choices between skilled nursing facilities, assisted living facilities, or I actually like to say communities. It's a more appropriate word for it. And you have residential care homes. Most people don't know what those are. Small homes within our neighborhoods where the elderly live. And those are one of the best kept secrets out there, I believe. You also have a continuing care retirement community. And there's so many options, assisted living. Families it's really a big decision to make. And so if they come to a care manager, we can actually help them through that process. And the beauty of it is that we know these communities. We have clients in these communities. We know what's working well, what's not working well. We also know how to match that elder with the right community, which is so key, because if you don't get the right one the first time, you may have to move. And the goal is to move once.
Sure. I think that being a gateway to information, so that you don't have to spend time going through that yellow pages and making all those visits to be upset because you're not finding the right fit.
Absolutely.
When that right fit might be right around the corner from you.
And you know what, actually the other surprise for family members is oftentimes they move into a community and then they're told they need private duty. And they don't expect that expense. Who would? They think they're moving their loved one in, and the community's got it, but that's not always the reality.
Sure. Well, turning to medical stuff, and how does the care manager help with the medical component of the care plan?
The care manager is the communicator and facilitator of communication with the team. So the client will develop a team of people that they're working with. Physicians, home care, there may be a lot of different players involved, and the care manager is the team leader, the facilitator of communication when there's a change of condition. Oftentimes the care manager is the one who picks up there's a change of condition in my client and reports it to the physician, who can then make the changes. Or for instance, if we take our client to the physician, we might be able to tell that doctor, the home situation is this, and may have a significant impact on the plan of care altogether, and may make changes in medications and other things. So we coordinate the care and address it not only with the family, so they're always part of the team, but with all the players involved, so that they know exactly what's going on and how to address changes.
So from a medical standpoint, you'll coordinate with the doctors and make sure they get to the right people. So take that a next step further, a piece of the medical care can be the mental health component.
Right.
As people get older, how they take their medicines, the order in which they take it, and whether they take it properly can have an impact on how they react publicly and privately, and could lead to mental health issues. Now, so does the care manager help with that as well?
Exactly. A lot of the clients that come to us are by physicians or by adult protective services or attorneys who come to us with a client in need, whether it be a mental health issue, cognitive impairment, memory loss. We are often called in to assist, and that might mean, a person is in crisis. We go over and do an evaluation of the client to discuss what exactly is the problem. And it might mean we have to, the person needs to be hospitalized. We may have to do a capacity evaluation to get a guardian or conservator appointed. Or it might mean that the person needs to go to a specialist to get the, proper medication, such as a neurologist, or even, cognitive evaluations done by psychologists. So it's important that that's one of the pieces that the care manager is so involved with is the mental health aspect of it, trying to make the crisis manageable.
Okay. Well, as we continue to look at the components of the care management plan, of course, an integral part of that is the social part of the plan. Whether they're living at home, which is really a challenge, or whether they're living in a community where they're in an assisted living community, how can the care manager help with the social functions?
Absolutely. So a care manager is an integral part of helping someone who is in their home in particular. I mean, in communities there are at least some activities and things going on, but I really look at the piece of someone being in their home or in a nursing home is where we really need to make this a central part of the care plan. And sometimes what's surprising to families is at times I believe that this is even more important. then some of the medical pieces, because we are, we're human beings and we're made to connect with each other,
Sure,
right?
of course.
So the way a care manager can do this is by bringing in a companion to take someone out of the home so they can go to the museum or do something that they love. We can find friendly visitors through the county to come into our clients' homes. The other thing we do is really ask a lot of questions about, do you have anybody that visits? Do your neighbors visit? Do you go to church? When was the last time you went? And maybe they just weren't able to get there. So how can we connect those pieces? We even had one client who's in her home who absolutely loved opera, and we were able to find a volunteer to come in and sing opera with her, and amazing.
Well, the church is a very interesting component. I know we visit people as part of our outreach for our church, on Sundays every once a month, and they're just delighted to see us because they're housebound.
Absolutely.
And even they have family coming in, they're happy to see somebody, a fresh face, and they want to talk.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Well, the other piece of the care management plan, of course, is that you can't deliver all the care, so we actually need caregivers, I guess, to come in who are going to help do some of the things that have to be hands-on. So, Kate, talk a little bit about that as well.
So basically what care managers can do, and at least in my organization, what we do specifically is we work with agencies that are vetted, that are licensed and bonded, and that we know are going to do a great job. And we help the family by interviewing those caregivers and making sure it's the right fit, not just emotionally and for the personality,
Right.
but that they have the right skill set.
Sure.
So those two things. And then after that point, and hopefully it's the right fit. If it's not, then we will fix that and work to find the right one. But if it is, at that point, we support that caregiver and help to educate them to make sure that they know everything they need to know about that elder. And then, let them know, if you need something, please call me so that I can help you.
Sure.
So developing that relationship, all to help the elder in the home and help the elder to stay there.
Okay. Well, that's good. Now, again, I know, Stephan, you've emphasized the last component is we've got all these pieces moving, okay, but we have this coordination process, and that, I guess, is a key part of what a care manager does as part of the care plan, or at least someone should be doing that, but frequently it's the care manager.
Well, the care manager becomes the master of coordination, and they are responsible to coordinate a lot of different things. For instance, they can coordinate when the physician appointments, taking people to the physician appointments. The other thing is aging in place. People want to live in their home as long as possible, so we coordinate it. We bring in home care. We bring in people to make modifications to the house. We bring in the social component. We make it so they can age in place and age gracefully in their home. The other thing that we do is, if a person, let's say they end up going to the hospital, the care manager will go with the client 24/7 to be an advocate for that client. And when the person is in the hospital, they often will get a discharge planner from the hospital to facilitate them leaving, but that's where it stops. The care manager picks up the ball and goes with the client through the whole process. If they need to go to a skilled nursing facility, the care manager will make recommendations. Which one is the best? Which one is best for you based on your financial and your physical needs? And go with the client to the facility for rehab if needed. Or coordinate going home, depends on what the needs are. But they are responsible to make sure that it goes smoothly, and so that they can get the best care possible, so they are responsible to help with coordination.
Well, as I see that we're starting to wind down on time, so let's briefly talk about who are care managers. So how does someone become a care manager, Kate?
Someone becomes a care manager by, obviously, first off, having an absolute passion for working with the elderly and advocacy for the elderly. Second, obviously, as well, is education. And third would be experience. The majority of the care managers in the field have 10 years or more of experience in the field of aging.
That's important. Experience, of course, is the best teacher. Right?
Absolutely.
Book learning
That's the way you learn.
only takes you so far. I know that there's ways to become certified, and of course that's additional education, which goes with experience. That's something many times you have to have. Stephanie, talk about how someone can determine if they have the right care manager.
You know, the consumer really has to be knowledgeable and educate themselves on what exactly is a care manager, because there's a lot of different groups out in the field who say that they're client advocates, and they may not have the same educational background as an aging life care expert. So I always tell families, interview and educate. Call several different care managers and really see what they're about, what their expertise is. And you have to feel comfortable with who you decide to go with, and that you have a special connection or bond. That will make the entire process so much more enjoyable through the process.
It makes sense. And I think that really goes hand in hand with, I think the conclusion is that not all care managers are the same.
Right.
Okay, we got
Very
personalities,
different.
experience, education, and again, people come from all different fields, as you mentioned, Kate. So they may have a strength in one area, but not a strength in another area. So I think you're right, Stephanie. You really have to be careful and proceed cautiously and ask questions. And a lot of times, the people who are referring you, especially if you're working with an elder lawyer, they may have, suggestions for people to go to as well as part of that process. Well, let's talk a little bit about the cost of a care manager. I mean, because you guys people don't work for free.
Right.
This is a very time-consuming process. Stephanie, talk about, it's something we have to talk about. Talk about the initial cost of a care manager. When does that really arise?
Well, just to be clear, most geriatric care managers are not covered under insurance. And they typically run between, I'm going to say, $100 an hour up to $250 an hour, depending on their education and experience. So the most intensive time for any care manager is the beginning stages, because that's when you spend a lot of time problem solving, addressing the issues, and conflict resolution, finding the answer to the problems.
Sure.
Once the problem is resolved, then things start to get quiet and things settle down a bit so that they become more maintenance. That's what we all strive for, is for maintenance and for peace of mind.
Okay, that's important to know. So we get through the first phase, which is to solve the problem and get our hands around the bigger picture. So then we get into the later part, which is now we're into oversight and coordination and updating. So tell a little bit about how care managers charge for that.
Right.
Give me roughly an idea.
Well, I always tell family members that if we're doing a really good job, then things should be really well managed. And at some point, even with some families, they don't even need us anymore. So, the ongoing care management cost can be really minimal. It just depends on obviously what's going on and if there's emergencies and things like that.
Sure.
But also with really the care manager working closely with the family with a back to the care plan, what is the budget?
Sure. So that's all part of the pulling all those pieces together.
Right.
Well, Ted, we covered just a ton of stuff today, and great value for our viewers. And I want to thank you, Stephanie, and you, Kate, for taking the time to come visit with us. This is a great public service, and you're doing a great public service for the folks of Fairfax County and Northern Virginia, for that matter.
Thank you
very much again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. With the aging of our population, more and more seniors need assistance in making lifestyle and medical decisions. Whether you have an advanced directive for health care or not, or whether you are a court-appointed guardian, the challenges are the same. Often all that must be considered and implemented can be overwhelming. And if you find yourself in that situation, consulting with the care manager is highly recommended. From housing decisions to ongoing medical care needs, to social life considerations, to oversight and ongoing management, all of this is something that a care manager can help you sort through to establish and implement a care plan that you can be confident will serve the needs of your loved one. And if you wish, the care manager can monitor that plan so that the changing needs of your loved one are identified and addressed in a timely manner. This brings us to the conclusion of our show today on care managers. Hope you found it informative, and remember that replays of the show can be viewed on the Probate Nation website. On behalf of the Probate Nation, thank you for visiting with us.